Rain slides down the neon bones of Luminopolis, turning the avenues into mirrors. Night hums like a low electric chord. Security drones drift in lazy ellipses, billboards breathe color, and the city beats at 128 BPM, as if an invisible DJ were cueing a set for the sleepless. Then the air tears. A ripple spreads through the old industrial district, and from a circular wound in reality, something vast pushes through. Scales flashing cobalt, static hissing along a body that seems to be made of thunder and midnight. The sonic worm arrives with a sound like a subwoofer swallowing a storm. Wherever it moves, time twitch glitches. Raindrops speed, then freeze, then fall backward. Car alarms sing, then choke, then swallow their own echoes. The sonic worm doesn't roar, it vibrates, and the vibration speaks one word in the language of impossible creatures: crystal. There is a legend tucked beneath the city's subway map, an artifact embedded under the old Museum of Transit, pulsing in a chamber of warped gravity. The crystal of flow, the metronome of worlds, the beat that all beats secretly obey. Whoever holds it can accelerate or decelerate reality like an audio file, skip whole bars of history, loop perfect nights forever. The worm has crossed a dozen broken timelines to taste that power. Far beyond the river, a rusted depot lies asleep under weeds and fog. A single engine hunches on a buckled track. It was once a cheerful blue locomotive with a painted smile, a hero of nursery shelves and soft pajamas. But time bent where it shouldn't, and a friendly face slid into teeth, and iron softened into hungry muscle. When the worm's vibration rolls across the marsh, the engine shudders awake. Pistons clench like fists. The smokestack coughs black. Two headlights open like bloodshot eyes. The Thomas monster is listening, and what it hears is a threat to the rails that stitch the worlds together. "All aboard," it growls, and when it rolls, the ground remembers what fear weighs. Above them, in a tower wrapped in glass and ambition, the Vector Labs experiment reaches Phase 3. The gateway is calibrated. The demo audience, 3 venture capitalists and a bored intern, watches a humming ring of light. "We will deliver cargo instantaneously between any 2 coordinates," boasts the lead engineer. The ring hiccups. Space folds like paper. A small, round silhouette shoots through and crashes on the polished floor, scattering tools. It stands, shakes soot off a reinforced yellow suit, and pulls down a black visor. A single cyclopean eye inside the helmet narrows, calculating. It is a minion from a harsher branch of the multiverse. Weaponized, strategic, married to a jetpack and 2 wrist lasers that purr like satisfied panthers. "Banana?" the intern whispers hopefully. The minion answers with a crisp, clipped tone. "Target, flow crystal. Objective, secure and sustain." He kicks the jetpack into life and blasts through the open skylight, leaving the boardroom's valuation chart smoking. And deeper still, beyond subway, sewer, and the old catacombs carved by desperate hands, something stirs in silk and stone. The spider worm uncoils from a cathedral of webs the color of bruised emerald. 8 legs spear the cavern floor. A segmented body flexes with silent menace. Its eyes, 16 beads of green fire, open at once. It has slept through empires. It has eaten earthquakes. It is the night's archivist and the city's oldest rumor, and it will not allow thieves to steal the rhythm that feeds it. Through fissures and drains, the spider worm begins to climb. The city feels it before it sees it. Traffic lights fall out of sync. Street musicians lose their groove mid-riff. Even the river stutters against its banks. At a crosswalk, a child watches a raindrop hover over her palm and giggles. When it finally lands, the moment is already a memory. The sonic worm surges up Main with the elegance of lightning wearing a crown. Glass bends away from it. Steel sighs. Then the Thomas monster hits the avenue like a cathedral on roller skates. It is not nimble. It is inevitable. Horn blare. Steam screams. Asphalt ripples under iron wheels that respect no rails. The worm whips its body, vaulting a bus, and the bus ages 50 years in the air and lands as orange dust. From the shadow of a billboard, the Minion pops into view and strafes the street in staccato light. "Suppress and separate," he intones, sweeping twin beams across the worm's plated hide, scoring glowing grooves. The monster snaps its steel jaws at the Minion and bites only exhaust. "Rude," the Minion mutters, crosshairs dancing over the monster's exposed vents. He fires. A vent ruptures, coughing sparks. The monster answers with a horn that physically pushes the Minion's jetpack sideways. "Okay," the Minion says. "New plan. Outrun the antique and the thunder noodle." He vectors toward the museum's domed roof. The street sighs and collapses. From its stitched-together mouth rises the spider worm, all legs and glare and hunger, trailing a comet tail of luminescent silk. It launches a fan of filament that slaps the Minion out of the air. The web is not sticky. It is heavy. Threads woven from slowed seconds. Time itself glues to the Minion's armor. "Adhesion anomaly," he notes, struggling as the silk turns his movements into syrup. The spider worm drags its prize closer, mandibles tasting the high-tech shell. The sonic worm barrels in, offended by competition. Time accelerates. The heavy web thins and snaps, and the Minion rockets free. The monster does not think, it targets. A smokestack belches superheated steam in a cutting lance, forcing creatures apart. For a heartbeat, the four regard one another in a geometry of violence, and then they all sprint the same direction. Down the boulevard, toward the museum that pretends to be ordinary. Luminopolis becomes a music video filmed inside a cyclone. The sonic worm writes blue calligraphy in the rain. The monster makes intersections into avalanches. The Minion bounces between windows and fire escapes, leaving hot signatures on every pane. The spider worm dives under street to reappear yards ahead, dragging loops of time silk like a fisherman pulling nets of moonlight. Sirens accumulate, then disappear as their cruisers drive into pockets where minutes have been misfiled, and the cops step out into last Tuesday by mistake. The museum's stone steps crack when the monster arrives, shoulders the doors, and turns a foyer into gravel. The sonic worm pours through like sound becomes a river. The Minion ziplines from a chandelier, aiming for the central hall. The spider worm climbs the atrium wall, 8 legs tapping marble like a metronome from hell. Beneath them, air thickens. A vertical ripple becomes a shaft down into an impossible vault. The transit underworld, where rail lines become light and tunnels run through history. They descend. The crystal waits in a womb of slow lightning. It is not a gem. It is an idea so dense it condensed into shape. An irregular prism humming at a frequency that makes bones nostalgic. Around it, gravity practices new tricks. Shadows fall upward. Footsteps echo before you take them. The sonic worm glows brighter, as if remembering its first name. The Thomas monster's horn lowers like a knight's lance. The Minion's HUD fills with warnings he has never earned before. The spider worm chokes the air with silk, anchoring itself to pillars of condensed time. The sonic worm strikes first, surging at a speed that creates a tunnel through the very air. It wraps segments around the crystal, and clocks in a 5-block radius forget their assignments. The monster slams into the worm, teeth shearing plates. Sparks pour like golden rain. "Stand down," the minion orders, voice calm as a surgeon's, and he fires a lattice of converging beams that create a cage of searing vectors between worm and monster. The spider worm counterweaves a net of green hours, and the minion's cage sags as if somebody put extra Tuesday on it. "Mine," says a voice that is not a voice. It ripples inside skulls and subway maps. It is the crystal, or something that uses the crystal as a mouth. "You are 4 instruments. You are not 4 masters." The room breathes. Time dilates. Dust motes become planets. The minion feels the age of his metal. The monster remembers the children who once loved a toy with a smile. The sonic worm watches itself shed 1,000 skins across 1,000 highways. The spider worm sees empires wither to compost in its web, and then the crystal changes key. The pulse becomes beat, clean, propulsive, euphoric. It is the city's secret anthem, the tiles hop EDM rush that has haunted arcades and rooftops for years. The underworld chamber blazes with synchronized strobes. Platforms rise and slide in a dance that obeys the drop. "Oh," the minion says, almost laughing despite himself. It's a rhythm lock. Every surface becomes a moving song. Touch the wrong panel on the wrong beat and gravity forgets you. Touch the right one and the room gives you wings. The minion is built for this. He rides the beat, boosting on the kick, strafing on the hi-hat, aligning shots with snare cracks. The monster, heavy but stubborn, stamps on quarter notes, each thunderous step a perfect boom that the chamber grudgingly respects. The sonic worm doesn't step. It flows, matching tempo with a sinuous ease, body flickering like a time-lapse of lightning. The spider worm dances as spiders do, wrong to human eyes yet weirdly precise, tapping out polyrhythms with its 8 legs, claiming high pillars of slow seconds. They fight in music. Beams cross, silk flares, steel screams. The worms coil and uncoil. The monster rams and rears. The minion threads angles like a needle sewing new geometry. At the song's first drop, the minion reaches the pedestal, plants both boots on a glowing plate, and the chamber says, yes. A force field peels back like fruit skin. He extends one gloved hand toward the crystal. "Pause," whispers a small voice. It is not the crystal. It is a child. One of a dozen figures suddenly standing in the doorway, haloed by the lift's silver light. The museum's night evacuation glitched. Time hiccups delivered these kids from their bus tour into the heart of a myth. Their chaperone hyperventilates. A girl in a raincoat steps forward, holding the kind of plastic flashlight that always flickers before it dies. She looks at the minion the way only children and saints can look at monsters, honestly. "Please don't break the city," she says, as if she were asking a neighbor not to step on her chalk drawings. The minion freezes. His visor shows target options, energy readouts, projected future casualties. None of the projections can account for the gravity of a child's request. He lowers his hand. Behind him, the monster's horn softens from murder to warning. The sonic worm's lightning quiets. The spider worm lowers its head, so the small lights in its eyes meet the small light in the girl's hand. For one suspended bar of the song, everything holds.